quick thank you to our sponsors for making this podcast possible. They keep this show free to listen to. I'm excited to tell you all about FeatherSnap Scout Smart Bird Feeder, a great example of how technology can connect people with nature in really cool ways. I don't know if you know, but I'm from Oregon, and in our house, there are tons of birds. So this Wi-Fi-enabled smart feeder combines state-of-the-art camera and app tech with an age-old pursuit, birdwatching. The feeder includes a high-end camera that captures crisp 4-megapixel photos and 1080p video of your feathered visitors. Then use the FeatherSnap app expert-trained AI identification model to nail down the species and categories the birds you see. I cannot wait to get the bald eagle on this camera. Tech that truly helps you tune into the world around you. Check them out today at feathersnapcam.com. That's feathersnapcam.com. Thanks for joining me on the Peace in Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to the Peace in Parenting podcast. I'm Michelle. I'm glad you're here. I want to talk about the transition from early childhood to adolescence and the things that parents experience, what it's like for our side of things. So, because I think we talk a lot about like, oh, our kids are going through this huge, change in life, and it's the biggest, growth they'll have in their brain. And we talk all about, how hard it is. And that's true. And it's well and good, I suppose. But it's also really hard on parents. And I think that remembering that and knowing that going into adolescence can be super helpful. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that going in. I didn't realize what a loss I was experiencing. I didn't realize how much I was just, mourning the loss of a child that I had. And it started with Esme and her, I wasn't, the sunshine of her life anymore. And I was so used to being that she adored me, that she, wanted me to be around and do everything and take her everywhere and be involved in everything. And that almost to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, and I think other people probably experience this, like, just let me go to the bathroom. Like, just give me one beat. Like, just give me 5 feet away, please. Like, give me some space. And I think that was how I felt as I first had a baby. And I felt like so suffocated with the breastfeeding and the baby on me all the time and the contact napping and all the things that I did. And then you get used to it, right? And then they become a little more independent. And then you get to this place where you're like, wow, this is really good. Like 5 years old, they can dress themselves. They go to school, yet they still need you, that they want you to be there. They're like, Mommy, I love you so much. And they're so into you. And they want you to be around everything. And so you kind of humming along here, like 5 years old, 6 years old, really working on the connection. 7 years old, I've got this great bond going on. 7, 8, 9. Oof, I love those years. 7, 8, 9, probably my favorite. They're just so yummy. And also they really get it. And they are funny. And they've got these personalities have really come out. And they're like so fun. And they're like your little buddies and they love you so much. And it's obvious because they're constantly telling you and hugging you and doing all the things. And so then something starts to happen. And I know many of you will totally understand what I'm talking about. And others of you who haven't experienced it, I'm just forewarning you, something happens. They start to change and they start to pull away. They want to be in their room more. They want to be around their friends more. They want to have more secrets to themselves. They want to do activities without you, which that one blew my mind. What do you mean you're going to go to the movies without me? That is not happening. You are not going alone. That is not happening. I mean, I had a real hard time letting go. I remember Esme wanted to go to, there was a parklet, literally, I think a half a block from our house. There was a circle in a roundabout. And in the middle of the roundabout was a grassy area. It was really big and people would, take their dogs there or whatever. And it was in a very, very quiet neighborhood. And I was terrified. I'm like, nope, you guys can't go there. I'll go with you. And Esme was devastated because her friend was over and the friend had older sisters and they were already allowed to do all these things. And I was being the overprotective mom and I couldn't let her go. And thinking back on it, I'm like, oh my God, what was I so worried about? But I was terrified that, the white van would drive by, pick them up, and they would never be here again. And then I would lose everybody's kids. And, that stuff is fearful and we have a hard time with it. And I think at the same time, she wasn't needing me, right? And she didn't want me there. And she was devastated that I wanted to be there and embarrassed. The fact that she was embarrassed of me was just, I couldn't bear it. I was like, what do you mean you're embarrassed of me? I'm like, cool. I'm nice. I'm chill. I'm doing a good job here, aren't I? And it wasn't even about that. It wasn't about me. Of course, I wanted to personalize it and turn it into being about me and how she didn't like me. It was that she was trying to find her autonomy. And it was hard on me. And I needed to start to come to terms with the idea that she was definitely becoming her own person who needed lots of autonomy. And I needed to accept that. And accepting that was hard, very hard, because I took it personally. And I tried to, I tried to hold on, right? I tried to control. Oh, I need her more. No, she can't do this. I got more restrictive for a minute there. And that was not the move, everyone. That's just not the move. It doesn't work, especially with a strong world sensitive kid. That was not going to work with her. So I had to learn to let go safely where I could. Yes, you could go to the park. Can you come home in 20 minutes? Will you take, your iPod because your iPod I can track? How can we make sure everything's okay? Where can we give them safe risk to start taking? Can they ride around the block on their bike by themselves or with their friend? Where can we start to give them places to take risk and to have autonomy and to feel big and to feel like they are, independent? And at the same time, how do we not take it personally when they start saying, I don't want you around. I don't want you here. No, you can't come. Oh, mom, you're so annoying. Ugh. It's hard. It's hard to lose that child you had and gain an adolescent because we want that child because it feels so good and mushy and yummy.
We are going to take a short break from our show to hear from our sponsors. Without their sponsorship, I wouldn't be able to bring you the Peace and Parenting podcast free of charge. So I'll see you back in just a few minutes. You know what I don't miss at all? The vicious week before my period. I always used to feel like I was walking in quicksand and craving the most unhealthy of foods. My sleep was always off and my moods were unpredictable. Now it's easier to manage PMS with Estro Control. Happy Mammoth, the company that created Hormone Harmony, is dedicated to making women's lives easier. And that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. And the biggest benefit, feeling like myself again. That's what women mention over and over in their reviews. And there are over 14,000 reviews of Hormone Harmony. For a limited time, you can get 15% off the entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code PEACE at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code PEACE for 15% off today.
This episode is sponsored by ByHeart. ByHeart is on a mission to make the best infant formula in the world. They use a patented protein blend that gets closest to breast milk. It includes alpha-lac, the most abundant protein found in breast milk, and lactoferrin, the number one protein found in colostrum. ByHeart's easy-to-digest formula and patented protein blend includes prebiotics and an 80-20 whey-to-casein ratio, just like in early breast milk, which is tailor-made for a newborn's digestive system. ByHeart is made with certified, clean ingredients, plus it has no soy, corn syrup, GMOs, or palm oil. Curious about ByHeart?
Redeem your welcome offer at byheart.com/podcast with code PEACE. It's available for a limited time, so don't miss out. That's byheart.com/podcast with code PEACE, because every baby deserves the best start. Let's dive back in. And the way in which our kids push away sometimes doesn't always feel good. And I think they need to do it because they need to create a boundary for themselves, and they need to create a limit for themselves. And so they do it sometimes in ways that are not very nice. And I get it. I get it, because they don't know how to set a limit. They don't know how to have a boundary, and they don't know how to tell us, like, hey, I love you. I just don't want you around all the time anymore. And they're not going to come out and say it like that. They're going to say it in a mean way, like, you're not invited. You can't come. You're embarrassing. Ugh, I don't like you anymore. They want to push you away. And that pushing away can be very hurtful for us if we take it the wrong way. And I think I took it the wrong way. And I even went to this whole idea, like, I'm not doing connected parenting anymore because my kid's turning into a jerk. That's what I thought. I was like, oh, yep, that's it. I did the wrong thing. I got to go back to rewards, punishments. Got to go back there, because that will make her want me to be there. And if she doesn't, then I'll just punish her into it. And I had to talk to my mentor, and she was like, no. You are thinking of this in the wrong way. You've got to reframe here. You've really got to take your ego out of it and yourself out of it, and stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about her. But I'll tell you what, that wasn't easy, because I was devastated. And I think many of us are. And so if you're going through this, please don't think you're alone. You're not alone. We all go through it. We all have kids who need and want their space, and need and want their autonomy, and need and want to feel big and be, adults. And so don't beat yourself up. Don't think that your kid is a bad kid, and don't think that there's something wrong, because there isn't. And keep leading with connection. Keep leaning in with connection. Keep coming with all the ideas of connection, and keep trying to connect with them outside of those moments where they really want to be alone and be with their friends and all that. Really try it. And I think this is what changed for me too. It was more like, she was constantly trying to connect with me all the time. Like, I want to play this, and I want to do special time, and I want to, go on a walk with you, and I want to do this with you. And it became the opposite, where I had to be like, hey, do you want to hang out with me? Hey, I want to do a musically, hey, with you. Oh, hey, do you want to go on a bike ride? Like, I had to be constantly bidding for the connection piece, because she wasn't anymore. And so it became that shift too, where I was like, connection was super easy with her because she was constantly begging for it. And now she was kind of like, I don't need it anymore. I got my friends. And we don't want the friends to become more important than us. We also don't want to cut them off from their friends. It's a balance. You're walking a tightrope here, and you have to keep that balance where you're allowing them to explore themselves, and you're also continuing to connect with them. And sometimes it's more work, and you have to find you're kind of just finding the little moments to connect with them, because they might not want to do special time anymore. They might think it's for babies. And can you think of, how am I going to do unannounced special time? How am I going to do a special time on the run? How am I going to do little pieces of special time where I can get it, where I'm not announcing it, but I'm still making sure it happens, because I really want to create this connection with this child. I want to maintain this relationship that I've spent so many years building. I think that was it for me too. I was like, oh my God, I've spent all this time building these relationships, this relationship with this child, and now she just wants to throw it away. How dare she? I've been working my butt off here. And I think it also turns people off, like, well, I'm done then. If you're done, then I'm done. And we get passive aggressive, right? Well, then I'm not going to connect with you. If you don't want to connect with me, then I'm not going to connect with you. And we get indignant. And I wonder if that's the way our parents were, or, that's the way society is. Now, we throw the adolescents away. We really say, oh, they're awful people. They're disrespectful, this generation. We have this negative talk about adolescence. And I wonder if that permeates us as parents. And then we kind of take that on as soon as we see these negative behaviors coming at us. Then we think, oh, yep, that's it. Society told me adolescents are crappy. I should know better. They're disrespectful. We're raising these terrible kids because they're coming at me the wrong way and they're being sassy. They're just trying to find out who they are, and they're having a hard time.
and they are totally dysregulated and they don't know what the heck is going on, and they're taking it out on the people they love the most. And it's not fair. So don't think you're alone if you're mourning the loss of this childhood of your children, and they're moving into this 11, 12, 13 age group, this, tween group. It's a hard age and they're having a hard time, and you're having a hard time too. And it's the perfect storm to have things go awry, but you don't have to let it. You really don't. You can come grounded again. You could come back to connection again, and you could believe that your kids will come around. And what I'll say now is that my 18-year-old's so sweet. She's back. She's totally back. She was back around 16 and a half, 17. And she really came back in a good way. And it was slow, right? And it's much better now, but she hugs and kisses me and asks me to do things, but she's still pretty independent. They're still into their friends. And I don't think that changes for a long time. All right. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. If you want to listen to the Peace and Parenting podcast ad-free for $2.99 a month or for $29.99 for the year, you can listen to it without ads. There's a link in the show notes for you to do that. And if you take advantage of it, that would be amazing. And you'll get even shorter podcasts. All right. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.